Welcome to this week's episode of Insight. During this week's show, we're going to cover three topics. The first one is going to be a spying scandal that has come out in our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then we're going to talk about the latest demographic information that came out about Armenia a few months ago. And lastly, we're going to close with some words about what's going on in Gaza. A diplomat by the name of Ashken Alexanian was recently arrested by the Armenian National Security Service at Yerevan's airport. She was allegedly passing secret information off to the Azeri regime for money, and apparently she's suspected of having a personal affair with one of their state operatives. For the sake of this report, we will assume that she is guilty. Obviously, she needs to get a fair trial. One thing that we did is we sent a series of questions to our Ministry of Foreign Affairs to answer about this scandal.
What key departments and positions did the diplomat serve in before being exposed? And is there any information on what secret and highly important data and documents were passed on to the other side? Were any internal investigations launched after this incident? And will there be dismissals of those responsible for this employee's appointment? Does the ministry have procedures for security checks of diplomats, as well as proper training before sending them on missions abroad? Are there clear criteria for appointments to important posts? And how are these appointments made, arbitrarily or based on experience and professionalism? High-ranking officials constantly stress the issue of accountability. Weeks have passed, yet the Foreign Ministry has issued no clarifications on this critical issue. Is this an example of your accountability?
The answers that we received from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to be kind, were evasive and didn't really answer any of our questions directly. If we actually had a functional political opposition, or better yet, a culture of political responsibility, this would have led to parliamentary investigations. It would have led to responsible people or her supervisors being questioned or fired. But we obviously don't have that, and by definition, we get what we deserve. On closing on this topic, I must give a lot of credit to the Azeri state for being so thorough that actually they have spies within our MFA to gather information. But since in our MFA there are only three secrets when it comes to the enemy state, which are what they concede, when they concede, and how they concede, I don't understand if it's really worth the effort to actually spy on this department of our government. Recently, we received information from the UN about the latest demographic information in Armenia. And according to them, Armenia's population actually grew by 84,000 last year. Right now, it stands at 3,073,000. This is mostly actually because of the ethnic cleansing from Artsakh in 23. What had happened, which is more interesting, is that the average number of children per woman actually has gone up to 1.9. This was actually close to 1.5 in 2018, so we've had a steady increase there. There's likely a correlation between income growth and this particular number about children per women going up from 1.5 to 1.9, because during the last 5 years, actually income in Armenia has doubled. And there are actually, interestingly enough, only two countries in Europe that have actually seen an increase in this number, and both of them are in our region. It's Armenia and Georgia. And most likely the reason for this is that low birth rates in Armenia were directly tied to income, and they were not tied to cultural patterns. The cultural patterns of what's been driving down population growth in most of the advanced world, whether it's in Western Europe or in the more advanced Asian countries. One of the best indicators of this is in the same polling that was done by the UN. The average couple in Armenia said they actually desire to have 3 children. I'm guessing that if we continue our trajectory of economic growth as we've had over the last 5 years or so, we can actually get to that 2.1 number, and 2.1 number means that you're actually at replacement level. So even though our numbers have gone up, we're still not even at replacement level, which is, by the way, the fate of almost every country in our region and in Europe. And if you look at the projections, unless we can actually move up these numbers according to the UN over the next couple of decades, our population is actually going to decline to be somewhere between 2.3 at the low end or 2.7 at the high end. But if we can actually grow these numbers, we might be able to do much better than that. Now we're going to move on to the horrors of Gaza, and frankly, regardless of one's politics, ethnicity, or religious affiliation, no one can stay silent on the horrors that we see coming out of Gaza on a daily basis. What we have unfortunately found that there's actually a very prominent Armenian that is central to what is going on and the atrocities that are happening in Gaza. That gentleman's name is David Papazian, who's a prominent Armenian American attorney, who was recently known as the person running ANIF, which was the investment arm of the Armenian government, which was shut down for purposes of corruption. And he was actually recently indicted by the Armenian government for his corrupt practices there. What the background of this is that a few months ago, the Israeli government, working with the United States, shut down the UN agency that was providing food for the destitute people of Gaza by setting up a front organization in Switzerland called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is essentially run by Israel and the United States. But they have Mr. Papazian acting as the president of this organization, who on paper is supposed to be responsible for delivering food to Gaza. But in fact, what they're doing is it's the process of starving people there. They do not provide the amount of food that is necessary to feed the nearly 2 million people that are living there. And in fact, the delivery mechanism is such that people are gathered in places which are essentially become shooting targets for members of the Israeli military. You know, I make it a policy not to call out individuals or actually single out individuals. However, there are exceptions to this case, and this will be one of them. So I want to address this to you, Mr. Papazian. Since you've never denied your involvement in this murder scheme of innocent people in Gaza, I will tell you only this. To do what you do as a human being makes you a degenerate. To do what you do as an Armenian makes you a monster. Thank you for joining me in this week's episode of Insights.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste, and I've been around for a long, long year. Stole many a man's soul and faith. And I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain. And I made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his fate. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guess my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game.